If you're in the UK and serious about getting on top of your finances and creating a secure financial future for yourself, then this is the video for you. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 accounts that you need to have if you want to become the wealthiest version of yourself this year. A lot of people don't even have one of these accounts set up, let alone all 5. Until a few years ago, I didn't even know what half of these were, and I could have saved myself a lot of tax and grown my income much faster if I'd known about these. Here's why having these accounts matters. To truly build wealth, you can't just let your money sit in a regular bank account where it loses value every year due to inflation. Leaving your cash sitting in a normal bank means its value actually decreases over time because rising prices erode its value. You also can't achieve the true wealth you're after, which gives you stability, security, and abundance without having the right habits and structures in place. So today, I'm walking you through the 5 accounts that you need to become the wealthiest version of yourself. Not someday, not when you earn more, but right now. If you start the year with these 5 in place, you're not guessing anymore, you're building. Before we get into this, I want to ask you a question. When you think about the wealthiest version of you, what does that actually look like? For me, this is not only about having more money, it's about feeling calm, comfortable, and less stressed about my money. Knowing that I have options, knowing that I have my bills covered, and knowing that I'm putting future me into a great financial position. By the end of this video, you'll know what 5 accounts you need to create financial stability and wealth in your life, which account to open first, why the order of this matters, and how this setup supports long-term wealth without needing constant effort. This is about you, your future, and creating a system that makes money feel simpler and calmer. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Dahlia, and this is Get On Top with Dahlia, where I talk to you about money, investing, and personal finance every week, with videos like this to help people just like you get on top of your finances. Let's go. The first account that you need to have is the FU fund, also known as the emergency fund. This is the account that in my eyes gives you true financial freedom, and let me explain why. An emergency fund is cash that you keep in a high interest instant access account, not invested, but safely parked and put away for your real life. The standard for this is to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses set aside. If you have dependents, the recommendation is to have 6 months of living expenses. That is the total of all the monthly expenses you have for necessities like rent, bills, and food, set aside so that if anything was to go wrong, you can easily dip into that pot. So when life happens, you get fired from your job, your boiler breaks in the middle of winter, or your car gets towed, you have cash ready to meet that emergency. And also, importantly, that you don't need to get into debt to meet that emergency. In the UK, a study by the FCA found that about 10% of people have no cash savings, and another around 20% have less than £1,000 to draw on in an emergency, meaning that many people would struggle with emergencies without having to borrow money. Now, there's also a very important psychological aspect to having an emergency fund. That sense of safety is real. Knowing that you have a buffer means you can think long term when something happens that requires money, not go into panic mode about how you're going to meet that expense. You are able to make financial decisions from a less emotional place where you have a feeling of safety and security. This is a really important one, and I think especially for women. An emergency doesn't have to mean something as dramatic as losing a job, but it gives you the freedom to walk away from situations that you don't want to stay in. A really good example I heard recently is, let's say that you're on a night out or a date and you're in an uncomfortable situation, or someone is harassing you. That emergency fund could be used to pay for your Uber home instead of getting the night bus and give you peace of mind. You may be in a relationship that isn't working out, where you live with your partner, and to leave would mean all of a sudden having to front up for a lot of expenses that you can't afford. Having an emergency savings or an FU fund in place means that you can make decisions based on what will be good for your well-being, rather than not being able to afford something and keeping yourself in a bad situation. That situation could also mean being in a job you don't like, or where your manager is giving you a hard time. Having the FU fund means that you can walk away without wondering how you're going to pay your bills. Having some cash set aside also means that you're not getting into credit card debt when an emergency does come up. The reality of credit card debt is that it ultimately ends up making you poorer because of the huge interest rates that the banks charge you to have these cards. If you just made the minimum payment on a debt of £5,000 at 25% interest a year, which is the average amount that banks charge on credit cards, this is an illustration of how long it's going to take you to actually pay that off. So let's give an example of how long it would take to pay off £5,000 of credit card debt. So you have the £5,000 balance and then an interest rate of 25%, which is around 2.08% a month. The minimum payment, let's go with 2.5% of that balance. Most cards are 2 to 3%, so I've just taken the average of that. So with those assumptions, it's going to take you about 18 to 20 years to clear £5,000 of credit card debt if you're just making the minimum payments. So you're going to end up paying the credit card companies back £9,000 to £10,000, which is £4,000 or £5,000 more than what you spent in the first place. So you're ending up paying almost the original amount that you borrowed. If you're in a situation where you're already in a lot of debt, please do go check out my video on my complete debt repayment strategy, which I'm going to link in the description box below. So where to start if you don't have an emergency fund? Don't get overwhelmed with the thought of having to save 3 to 6 months of living expenses in one go. Even starting with £1,000 puts you in a completely different mindset. Start putting aside smaller months of your monthly income into an emergency fund until you have £1,000 saved. Once you have that, I promise you will feel so proud of yourself and it will incentivize you to save even more money. You will want to open a separate bank account to your normal one. I know when I try and keep any saved money in my normal account that I use every day, I always end up spending it all. So having a barrier where I can't immediately spend it is a great way to make sure that it actually gets saved. Now you want to make sure that that account is working hard for you as well. So if you're going to do this today, what I recommend as soon as you finish watching this video is to go to a money comparison website. In the UK, we have lots like Compare the Market and Money Supermarket, and look for whatever savings account gives you the highest interest for an easy access account. That is, you can get to your money easily in case you do need it in case of an emergency. Once you've opened this account and have your emergency fund in place, you can move on to account number 2, the Stocks and Shares ISA. This is where your wealth actually grows. Once your emergency fund is ticking along, it's time to let your money work for you. And the best way to do that in the UK is through a Stocks and Shares ISA. ISA stands for Individual Savings Account, and a Stocks and Shares ISA is one of those accounts where you can invest up to 20k a year into investments in stocks and shares, and all of the growth and profit you make on that is tax-free forever. This account is essential for long-term wealth building. Cash is great and necessary for emergencies, but over the long term, stocks have historically beaten savings accounts by a wide margin. Funds based on indexes of the world's biggest companies, such as the S&P 500 and the FTSE All-World, have historically returned 7% growth year on year. Compare that to your average savings account, where you may only be getting 2 or 3%. Yes, there is more volatility than a regular savings account, meaning the value of your investments can go up and down, which is why you need to have your savings sorted first before you start investing, because you don't want to be in a position where you need to sell investments at a loss to get cash for an emergency at a time when the markets may be down. But the potential for long-term wealth building far outstrips having your money sitting in a regular savings account. I have a whole video on Stocks and Shares ISAs if you want to do a deep dive into how to get started, but for now let me talk you through how you can get started today. There are a lot of investment apps out there that make this super easy for you. I always suggest Moneybox and Plum as apps that I use that I have found really easy. Just open the app, link it to your bank account, and you can start debiting small amounts of money every month into it. If this is the very first time that you're investing, it's important to not get overwhelmed by the huge amount of choices that are out there. This often leads to a lot of people never starting because they're worried about making the wrong choice. If I was starting today and for the first time, I would simply choose one fund and make it a global index fund. For example, one that tracks the FTSE All-World Index. This is like investing into 1,000 different companies all over the world, so you instantly have a diversity of investments and you're not putting all of your money into one stock or one country. Now I want you to get in the habit of making weekly or monthly contributions. Regular contributions of small amounts grow into real wealth over time. I started my ISA a few years ago with just £20 a week and then gradually increased it to £50 a week. And over just a few years, I've seen the value of that account grow into the tens of thousands. You don't need to start big, but you do need to start if you want to grow your wealth. Allocate whatever you can afford at first, and once you start to see that pot of money growing, you will feel so motivated and downright pleased with yourself that you'll start contributing even more. And believe me, if you start really small, like I've said, you will not even notice those tiny amounts of money coming out of your account because you would have spent that anyway. The third account that you want to set up is a pension or SIP. Research by the Money and Pension Service found that 45% of working adults in the UK don't contribute anything to a pension. A lot of people think a state pension is going to be enough for retirement, but the reality is that the amount of money given to you by the government as a pension is so low, around £12,000 a year while I'm recording this, and that is barely enough money for living expenses now, let alone what all of those living expenses will cost in 30 or 40 years' time when you retire. So the smart thing to do right now to get on top of your finances is to start contributing to your pension, whether it's your workplace pension or a self-invested personal pension, a SIP. This is where tax relief gives you a boost that you literally can't get anywhere else. So let me cover workplace pensions first. In the UK, you're automatically enrolled into these. If you've opted out, let me tell you right now where you should definitely opt back in. If your employer matches contributions and you're not using it, that is literally free money that you're leaving on the table. Even if you set your contribution to the lowest percentage of your salary that is needed to get that employer match, do that today, because in what universe do you want to miss out on someone giving you free money? I know retirement seems like it's a long time away, but believe me, the years are going to go past faster than you think. Pensions also have the benefit of growing your money exponentially because of the longer time horizons that your money is left to invest. Compound interest on savings and investments is an amazing thing. As Warren Buffett, one of the most famous investors in the world, says, time in the market beats timing the market. I want to take you through an example now so you can see exactly how much free money you could be getting. Using the latest UK earnings data in 2025, the median full-time salary is around £39,000 a year before tax. If you use employer matching under UK workplace pension auto-enrollment rules for the 2025 to 26 tax year, the minimum total contribution is 8% of qualifying earnings, meaning you would pay in at least 5%, including tax relief, and your employer pays in the minimum, which is 3% of your salary. Matching means that the employer contributes at least their minimum 3% as long as you pay the 5%. So to get the full minimum employer contribution, you should contribute 5% of qualifying earnings. For that average salary of £39,000, your qualifying earnings are anything over £6,240, so £32,760. So looking at the numbers on the screen here, you'll be contributing around £2,600 in total a year, which if you start at age 23 and retire at 60, means from a total of £60,600 that you put in, you'll be getting out an estimated £270,000 at retirement, which is over 4 times more than the money that you put in. That's definitely worth the investment in yourself. If you're self-employed or run a limited company like me, you can contribute up to £60,000 a year into a SIP, a self-invested personal pension. This doesn't have the employer contributions because you are your own employer, but what it does have is tax benefits. You can claim the contributions from your limited company to your SIP as a corporation tax expense and therefore reduce your overall tax bill. A lot of people don't pay into their pension or they delay pensions because your money's locked away, but that's exactly the point. It stops you spending it now and lets compounding do its magic. When I worked in finance, I was in my 20s and my mindset was so different to what it is now. I thought, why would I want to get less in my paycheck now because I want to have some money when I'm 60? I'd much rather spend that now. And I know a lot of people, maybe including you, feel that way. But when you look at essentially the amount of free money that you're going to be getting, it is so worth it to put aside just 5% of your salary now. Let's get on to account number 4 now. Account number 4 is a LISA or a lifetime ISA. This is available in the UK to people aged 18 to 39, and let me tell you why this is one of the best ways to supercharge your wealth building. If you qualify for this, this is one of those rare examples where the government rewards you just for saving your money. This is one of the very few instances in which our government literally gives you free money. You can invest up to £4,000 per tax year, and the government adds on a 25% bonus. That is up to £1,000 free every year if you max out your LISA allowance. The catch here is what you can use the LISA money for. There are some rules. So you can only use it for one of 2 things. Number 1 is buying your first home up to the value of £450,000, as long as the account has been open at least 12 months. And the second way that you can use it is at age 60 or over, so for your retirement. Also be aware that withdrawing your money for the wrong reasons incurs a penalty of the amount of money the government has contributed to the amount that you took out. So essentially taking back that extra 25% bonus. So those are the rules as at the start of 2026 when I'm recording this. And even if you live somewhere like London, where a home for 450K is not as common, it's still a great way to get extra money for money that you would have saved anyway, especially if you're maxing out all the other accounts that I've mentioned. The LISA is for your medium to long-term goals, so it's a great way to plan for your future. Now, the last account that I'm going to talk to you about may not be as intuitive in terms of understanding why you should have one of these, so stick with me. I'm going to explain why it's a good idea to have it. Account number 5 is a credit card with benefits. Now, if you're a fan of shopping and travel like I am, I need to caveat this recommendation with a caution. This type of card can have so many benefits outside of the credit card's reward program, but only if used responsibly. Before we get into the benefits, I want to talk to you quickly about credit scores. A credit score is a number based on data from your credit files, and that number is used to determine whether you get given a loan, mortgage, or other credit card, or even a rental agreement. Having a good credit score is so important to future you because it could determine whether you get to rent or buy that house that you want, as well as many other things. The kinds of things that you can mess up your credit score are not paying debts back on time, like those Klarna payments from that shopping spree, or that car loan that you took out. So having a credit card and using it responsibly is the best way to tell banks and other lenders that you're responsible and can pay back your debts, which means they'll be much more likely to lend to you. I have a full video on how to build your credit score that I'm going to link in the description box below. Now, here's how to also get super benefits while building your credit score. That is by having a card that gives you benefits like cashback. For example, having an American Express cashback card gives you benefits like 1% back of your spend in cashback on everything that you buy on the card. Also, you have refund and purchase protection. So if something that you bought on the card is either stolen or accidentally damaged up to 90 days after you've bought it, they'll reimburse you. This is especially great because it's like having insurance on everything that you buy. So I highly recommend checking out what reward cards are available to you and choosing one that gives you rewards that you prefer and that you can use. Personally, I have the British Airways American Express card because I'm a frequent traveler. So instead of cashback, I create frequent flyer points that I use to get huge discounts and upgrades on my flights. If you want to get thousands of bonus points by signing up for one of these, I'll link my referral code below. Now, the important part of having a credit card is to set up systems for yourself that ensure that you use it responsibly. Firstly, only accept a credit limit that's under your monthly salary. This ensures that you won't get into high amounts of debt. Secondly, set up a direct debit to pay off the card in full every single month on your payday. This ensures that you won't continue to pay high interest rates and actually cost yourself more money than the rewards that you're getting. My method is to do my everyday spending on my credit rewards card, things like groceries, tube and train journeys, and I pay this back to myself weekly so that they don't start charging me interest. In short, these cards can have so many benefits, but just make sure to use them carefully. Here is the order that most people in the UK should actually use and set up the accounts that I've covered today. Number 1, the emergency fund. Number 2, the pension or SIP. Number 3, your stocks and shares ISA. Number 4, your lifetime ISA if you're eligible. And number 5, your credit card with benefits. Why this order? We've put safety and security first, guaranteed tax relief next, and tax-free growth on the extra money that you're able to put away. Lastly, the government bonus on your extra savings. And once you've covered all that, giving you some perks on your everyday spend. So we are not about chasing fast wealth hacks here. We're building systems. These 5 accounts give you safety, growth, free money, and smarter everyday spending. If this video helped you to get clear on how to set up your finances, please do like it and subscribe to my channel Get On Top. And comment below which account you're going to open straight after you watch this. Thank you so much for watching, and ciao for now.